Second pirate video. The Nika fruit is exposed at the beginning. Chapter 1. The sky is filled with yellow sand, in a dry, hot desert. Crocodile staggered towards Luffy, and the scarlet liquid dripping from the golden hook evaporated instantly when it touched the sand. Straw Hat Luffy, let's die here today. Crocodile leaned over and stared at Luffy, with a slightly crazy smile on his lips and raised his golden hook high. Luffy struggled to get up, staring intently at the golden hook that was about to penetrate him. At the critical moment, strange phenomena occurred. It was sunny, but the blazing sky was instantly covered by dark clouds. Not just Alabasta, but the entire pirate world. Ah, what's wrong? Is the end of the world coming? Everyone couldn't help but fall into panic. They all gathered outside with faces full of horror. At this moment, a giant screen suddenly appeared in midair. Under the horrified and panicked gaze, the giant screen lit up. Then, a picture came into view. One of the 4 sea emperors, Kaido. Kaido appeared on the huge screen, half holding the mace in his hand. Ghost Island. Admiral, Admiral. Look, it's the Admiral. The entire Beast Pirates group was in a state of excitement. No way. Isn't this a vision caused by Admiral Kaido? How is it impossible? Our Admiral is known as the strongest creature in the sea, land and air. But what they didn't know was that even Kaido himself put down the wine bottle in his hand a little confused at this time, and looked up at his picture in surprise. The next second, a voice came from the giant screen. Kaido is the great villain of Wano who must be overthrown, but let's not talk about Kaido's stains. No one should first address Kaido as teacher or Professor Kaido. Nani. As soon as the video came out, there was something wrong with the style. Villain. Isn't this caused by Boss Kaido? Villain shouldn't be a compliment, right? That's well said. Marine Headquarters Marine Fando, Sengoku looked up at the giant screen. That's well said. Isn't this created by the government? Porosalino, go up and have a look. Okay, Kizaru on the side agreed reluctantly. Such a dark sky is perfect for fishing. But for Fleet Admiral, Kizaru's superficial skills must be sufficient, and he instantly turns into a yellow light and rushes towards the giant screen in the sky. Sparkling fruit. No doubt about the speed. A few seconds later. Bang! There was a loud noise in the headquarters square. Ah! Was followed by Kizaru's scream. General Kizaru! General Kizaru! The crowd around them inevitably exclaimed. General Kizaru has gagged. At this time, Kizaru seemed to have been struck by lightning. His whole body was scorched, as if he had been roasted. When you say it's slow, it's fast. The giant screen began to play again. False Master Rayleigh, real Mentor Kaido. Master Rayleigh. Mentor Kaido. One Piece, Roger. Vice Captain of the Roger Pirates. Master. Who's Master? Tutor. 4 Emperors Kaido. Who is this? What kind of big shot is this? If he can be taught by Rayleigh and Kaido at the same time, isn't he going to be a great pirate in the future? At the same time, the giant screen continued to play. Straw Hat Luffy. Crocodile looked up at Luffy's picture on the giant screen, then looked down at Luffy. The golden hook that just wanted to kill Luffy couldn't help but pause slightly. Hiss. One Piece Deputy, Pluton Rayleigh. The King of Beasts, Kaido. Crocodile couldn't help but think about himself. If Luffy died here, let alone Pluton, I'm afraid the entire Alabasta would be destroyed. Of course the foundation is as important as the consolidation. I have to say that what Straw Hat Luffy figured out in Kaido is powerful, efficient, and the moves are gorgeous. The mystery is revealed. Straw Hat Luffy. Hiss. Who? Never heard of it. But someone has heard of it. There was a lot of Malin in the headquarters, and Sengoku looked at Garp who was still throwing senbei in his mouth carelessly with a resentful look on his face. Luffy. Master Rayleigh. Mentor Kaido. Garp muttered softly. Sure enough, my precious grandson is so popular. Ha 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 ha. When Kaido lifted Onigashima. On the eve of the Onigashima rooftop war, Mr. Kaido was famous for his good wine, and he often drank drunkenly. However, after more than a year, Mr. Kaido's teaching ideas were very clear. What should be taught first, what should be taught later, that is very sober. Holding a potential stimulating stick in your hand has the magic power to turn stone into gold and make people enlightened. It can be called a little genius reading machine, it doesn't know where to click. The most ridiculous thing in the world. Kaido from Onigashima looked down at the mace in his hand, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Potential stimulating stick. Where won't you click? Where does this leave Kaido's old face? I'm going to sue you for defamation. Kaido shouted at the giant screen in the sky. The giant screen didn't care about Kaido's clamor, but continued to play on its own. The first lesson of the semester, let students clarify their positions. Kaido looked at the confident and arrogant Luffy and thought that it was time to quit his internet addiction. He knocked him unconscious with a stick and went back to reflect. Ah. Knocked to death with a stick. This teaching style. I have to say, a famous teacher really makes a good disciple. The next face-to-face between Kaido and Luffy will be on the rooftop of Onigashima. Teacher Kaido's second lesson, Ryu Sakura's actual combat consolidation lesson. Student Luffy gained courage after realizing his shame. He learned how to flexibly use flowing haki from Bianyi, but he only practiced with iron plates and the like. On Onigashima, student Luffy's move with the 3-speed fire pistol, this punch solidly injured Kaido's mentor. A little bit of skin, but it really knocked Kaido into a bit of a daze. Hurt Kaido. Crocodile looked at the dying Straw Hat Luffy lying on the desert, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Just him. Hurt Kaido. Has Kaido become weaker, or is he pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger? Tisk, 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 not a good review. Thinking of this, Crocodile couldn't help but take 2 cautious steps back. You know, Boss Shaw has seen the world, and Crocodile is very clear about the gap between the 4 emperors and himself. I'm afraid that no matter how hard I try, I won't be able to hurt Kaido at all. Qualitative leap. This has already made a qualitative leap. Teacher Kai is very pleased that Liu Ying has passed the practical class. Compared to Crocodile, the one who is even more speechless is probably Kaido from Onigashima. Tutor. Potential stimulating stick. Lesson 1. Lesson 2. The short video played on the giant screen is eye-catching. Everyone in the entire pirate world looked at the short video curiously, unable to move their eyes at all. Under the gaze of everyone, the short video on the giant screen continued to play. The third lesson of foreseeing the future and strengthening the lesson. Kaido, who was scratched by the Karma fire pistol, quickly stood up and responded with a thunderous 8 trigrams. This time, student Luffy is smarter. Luffy knew he was in pain, and he also knew how to hide. Although his scalp was still scratched a little, his ability to foresee the future is almost complete. Teacher Kaido couldn't help but praise him verbally. Seeing and hearing the domineering power. Taking advantage of Crocodile's panic, Luffy quickly opened a few hundred meters away from him. Breathing heavily, he looked up at the video on the giant screen. The next 5 extremely evil eras officially started a war with the double 4 emperors, and the rooftop of Onigashima was in chaos. 5 extremely evil times. 2 4 emperors start a war. Some people are watching the excitement, while others are worried. Warring States raised his head and stared at the giant screen, stroking his braid with one hand, his eyes flickering, and he murmured softly, "This kind of incident may change the outcome of the entire world." Sengoku Fleet Admiral, this video may not be true. Akainu on the side warned. Warring States was slightly startled but did not refute. Authenticity. The Warring States period feels real. Student Luffy's main target is still Teacher Kai. As usual, Mr. Kai will be beaten passively first, and let student Luffy stretch his muscles and legs first to avoid cramps. Kaido took almost all of Luffy's punches and fell down many times, but with Teacher Kai's health bar, it can only be regarded as giving Kaido acupuncture and a slap on the back. Hiss. Everyone looked at the video, where Luffy kept hitting Kaido in Gear 3 and Gear 4, and the surrounding buildings were in ruins. They couldn't help but gasp, and secretly gave a thumbs up. Kaido. Teacher Kaido. It truly deserves to be called the strongest creature on land, sea, and air. Teacher Kaido's 4th lesson Batang Enlightenment class. Look at Luffy having fun. Kaido-sensei blew Luffy away. I thought, okay, let's take a break and I'll teach you something fun. Then Kaido-sensei transformed into a human animal form to be more flexible, and took advantage of the situation to hit Luffy with a stick. Luffy couldn't dodge, so he had to hit it hard. After a duel, Luffy appeared again and blocked the second move. The same symptoms as before. If you can't fight with the weapon colors, your hands will be swollen and painful, But at this time, Luffy has already grown up with a lot of bleeding, and this situation still happens. Luffy was being beaten, screaming, and thinking. Kaido-sensei must have something up his sleeve. There are definitely other formulas on Mr. Kai's stick. Student Luffy was distracted, and Kaido defeated the third world with one move. Naraku fell from the sky. Student Luffy fainted on the spot. Wonderful. Excellent. The video of many people staring at the giant screen is amazing, their eyes are shining. This is simply wonderful. Ordinary people may never see such a spectacular and gorgeous battle scene in their lifetime. Even some pirates, marine learned a lot from this battle. Under the gaze of everyone, the video continues to play. Student Luffy slowly stood up under the gaze of instructor Kaido. After taking one of your potential stimulating sticks, teacher, the students understand that conquerors can also be used as weapons, right? Teacher Kai smiled happily, and he couldn't help but be a little frightened. I thought, is it because I teach too well, or because your foundation is too strong? Kaido slowly calmed down from doubts and anger. He couldn't help but weigh the potential stimulating stick in his hand and murmured. I also have the potential to become a famous teacher. Then, I just heard a bang. Jack on the side was beaten straight away, his mouth full of blood, and he shouted in the air. Admiral, this is absolutely impossible. The video continues to play. After the epiphany, Student Luffy's domineering combination punch-beat Mr. Kaido until he vomited blood. Teacher Kaido's fall to the ground this time is valuable, but learning to dominate is only enough to give him the capital to fight Kaido. After Kaido tutored Luffy one-on-one, it was still difficult to change the real situation of the student Luffy being suppressed by Kaido's mentor, and he was quickly knocked off the Ghost Island and passed out. Conqueror's domineering. Conqueror's domineering entanglement. Who is Straw Hat Luffy? Why is he so powerful? In the video, although Luffy was beaten by Kaido until he vomited blood, he was Kaido. Kaido, one of the four emperors. Kaido, the top fighter in the world. Just those few punches are enough for Straw Hat Luffy to gain a foothold in the new world. And he also awakened Conqueror's haki. Only one person among millions of people can awaken. Under the shocked gaze of everyone, the video on the giant screen continued to play. After student Luffy recovered and returned, he switched back and forth between the fourth gear Snake Man and Spring Man to deal with Mr. Kaido. But in the end, Kaido's more powerful Thunder 8 trigrams hit him and he was deflated, and he fainted on the spot. Kaido. Garp looked at the short video being played on the giant screen with red eyes. He was so angry that the senbei was crushed. I will fight you to the death. Luffy. Monkey D. Luffy. This is his grandson. On the side, Akainu, Aokiji and other senior generals of the headquarters couldn't help but be a little surprised when they saw Garp's reaction. Did Lieutenant General Garp see empathy? I don't usually see Garp wanting to work so much. Kaido-sensei's Lesson 5 Fruit Power Awakening. Teacher Kaido's potential stimulating stick really works every time. With just a few blows, student Luffy awakens and increases Gear 5. The Nika form that had not awakened for 800 years was born out of nowhere. Nika form. Bang. Bang. New world. Shanks stared at the video on the giant screen in shock. Nika form, has it really awakened? There are many Marines in the Marine headquarters. Warring States looked at the video on the giant screen, his pupils dilated infinitely, his expression was so dull that he couldn't speak at all. Holy place. The 5 elders stood in front of the window, looking at each other, but there was no sound. In a high tower. A momentum soared into the sky. Nika fruit. Okay. Mr. Kaido was also confused. Every time he hit the stick, it was like opening a blind box. What did he knock out again? The two immediately staged a Tom and Jerry style battle. After all, Kaido-sensei also wants to be Joy Boy, and the fight between the two is more than joyful. Maybe Kaido-sensei feels that he can't hold on for much longer, so he hastily said a final speech, truth teaching. Current speech. Truth preaching. Come on, don't stop. People watching the short video are getting more and more excited. The gorgeous battle scenes and excellent explanation are indeed fascinating. The giant screen did not disappoint everyone and soon started playing again. Kaido-sensei Lesson 6, The Truth That Exists in the World. Truth. The truth taught by the four emperors made ordinary people, pirates, and even marines swallow their saliva and watch the video on the giant screen with anticipation. Just listen to what teacher Kaido has to say. Roger is not a person with fruit abilities. This shows that fruit abilities are not a necessary element for becoming a king. Only domineering can be superior to everything. The fighting power that surpasses all, domineering. Almost 90% of people opened their eyes wide. Except for the New World, not to mention the Four Seas, even in the first half of the Grand Line, many people may not know the existence of hockey. And Kaido has truly become everyone's mentor. Whoever we meet in the future is not allowed to be addressed as Teacher Kaido. Student Luffy, watch carefully, I will demonstrate this time. In the video, Mr. Kaido is waving the potential stimulating stick. Shouting loudly. Great Mighty Thunder 8 trigrams. This is one of Kaido's master's most unrivaled skills, and now facing the talented student Luffy, I can't help but want to hide it. The move hits student Luffy and sends him flying into the sky. But student Luffy stretched out his arms and grabbed Kaido's teacher's chest tightly. Luffy's body gradually disappeared in the clouds. Teacher Kaido shouted with concern, "Let go, you will only expose your position." See here. Everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but burst into tears. Staring at Kaido in the video, he clasped his hands and said, Instructor Kaido is so dedicated to his duties. Yes. It's about time. Instructor Kaido is still teaching. Still teaching, still teaching. Soon, a huge fist comparable to Onigashima appeared in the clouds. It's time to make a break. Seeing this scene, Kaido's mentor in the video was already numb. But Master Kaido has a clear conscience, and he has already given everything he has to teach. At the moment when the huge fist was about to hit Kaido hard, the scene stopped abruptly. But soon, it went out and the black screen flashed again. A brief summary. A great disciple emerges from the cudgel of Mentor Kaido. A lesson in shame leads to courage. 2 terrifying Sakura. 3 sticks to strengthen your knowledge. The 4-stick epiphany dominates. 5-stick fruits awakening. 6 sticks remember the truth. 3 colors of domineering plus fruit awakening plus illuminating the truth. I have to say that what Instructor Kaido teaches is really everything. Ooh. Potential stimulating stick. Well-deserved reputation. Teacher Kaido. Well-deserved. New World, Ghost Island. Groove, Ku, Kaido took a big gulp of strong liquor into his mouth. He looked up at the giant screen angrily. The people around him were staring at Kaido eagerly. To be precise, he was staring at the potential stimulating rod in Kaido's hand. 6 sticks and 1 Sea Emperor. Who doesn't want to try it? But only Jack, who was unconscious not far away, knew that this was absolutely impossible. Roar. In an instant, Kaido's whole body entered the form of a blue dragon and flew towards the giant screen in the sky at high speed. The sky, originally covered in darkness, seemed to be on fire. Kaido spits out flames, and the giant screen is burning. After a few breaths, the flames stop, but the giant screen is intact. Next second, a thick bolt of thunder fell from the sky and completely enveloped Kaido. Ah! Kaido was watered ruthlessly by the thunder. By the time the thunder disappeared, Kaido had basically lost consciousness. Compared to Kaido's teacher's anger, there are many Lin at this time. Sengoku looked at Garp, who was still eating senbei heartlessly, with a solemn expression. Sengoku naturally knows about Luffy. Originally, Sengoku didn't take Luffy seriously, but now, it's different. Everything has changed. The sudden exposure of the Nika fruit. For the weak Luffy now, this is definitely a disaster. And how will Garp choose at that time? The fact is as expected by the Warring States period. Holy place. The 5 elders have opened the towering iron door. I am sitting on the throne. The 5 elders knelt before the throne, not even having the courage to look at I am. You know what to do, go ahead. A cold word seems to penetrate time and space. The 5 elders couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. Clear. 5 people answered at the same time. Alabasta at this time. Crocodile looked at Luffy who was still breathing heavily not far away with a suspicious look on his face. His expression became playful and indifferent again. He has truly felt that Luffy is definitely not that strong now. Moreover, Crocodile has already seen it in the video. Luffy will definitely not be Kaido's apprentice. And there is absolutely no way Kaido can be Luffy's mentor. Then today, Luffy will definitely die. However, the next second, accident happened again. A beam of light fell from the sky and enveloped Luffy. Crocodile squinted and stared at Luffy in the bright light, and saw that Luffy's muscles all over his body were swelling. Crocodile couldn't help but bite the cigar with all his strength. Crocodile can feel that Luffy's strength is rising. Bang! Suddenly, a powerful dark red haki swept out from Luffy's body. But Crocodile actually felt such a powerful force that he couldn't help but sink his feet. Take decisive action. Crocodile knew he couldn't wait any longer. His whole body turned into yellow sand, and he appeared in front of Luffy in an instant, stabbing Luffy with a poisonous golden hook. Unexpectedly. The next second, Luffy turned slightly to one side. A golden hook passes through it. The domineering power of seeing and hearing is awakened. Crocodile's eyes suddenly shrank, and the next second, Luffy's fist was in front of him. Bang! A loud bang. Crocodile was hit hard and flew out. Conqueror's haki awakens. Before Crocodile could stabilize his body, Luffy entered Nika form. Come to him in an instant. Punch out, lightly. The next second, Crocodile no longer knew what happened. Has completely lost consciousness. Ha 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 ha. All that was left was Luffy's cheerful laughter. The surrounding area was like a spring mattress, with Luffy jumping up and down on it. Nika fruit awakens. Sun God Nika form. It was so easy for Luffy, who had awakened his Nika form, to beat up Crocodile. Not long after Luffy crushed Crocodile, the Straw Hats go to sea again. The giant screen in the sky started to flash again. Everyone looked up at the giant screen expectantly, their faces full of excitement. I don't know what news will be broadcast this time that will shock the world. Soon, a black title appeared on the giant screen. The identity of the Straw Hat Pirates was revealed. It turned out to be a group of second-generation officials traveling overseas. Straw Hat Pirates. It's the Straw Hat Pirates again. I've definitely never heard of it. Is it awesome? Everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but talk about it. For them, they had never heard of the still unknown Straw Hat Pirates. Everyone looked up at the giant screen with doubtful eyes. The life experiences of 8 members of the Straw Hats have been confirmed, and their backgrounds are not simple. I originally thought that One Piece described the dream-seeking journey of struggling young people, but I didn't expect that it turned out to be a group of officials from second generation traveling overseas. Official second generation goes out to sea for fun. What? Does second generation need to go to sea and become a pirate? Someone quickly asked a question, but someone quickly answered it. No matter what second generation does, it should be done. Well, hey, that makes sense. Captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Monkey D. Luffy. Grandpa is Marine Hero Lieutenant General, Monkey D. Garp. What? Lightning strikes at the opening. Marine Hero, Garp. Luffy is actually his grandson. And he went to sea to become a pirate. Marlene is abundant. Outside Fleet Admiral, Sengoku looked up at the giant screen, couldn't help but slap his head, and couldn't help but yell at Garp. Garp, look at the good thing you did. Not far away, the generals, lieutenant generals, and soldiers also stared at Garp in surprise. Everyone seemed to be waiting for Garp's rebuttal. Ha 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 ha, I didn't expect it to be exposed. Unexpectedly, Garp touched the back of his head and admitted it openly. Alabasta is not far from the coast. The Mary wandered the sea. Zoro, Nami and others stood at the front of the deck. Staring at Luffy in shock, the most surprised among them was Nami. Others may not have any idea about Marine Hero Garp, but Nami is different. What? Luffy, Garp is actually your grandfather. Luffy sat cross-legged on the sheep's head of the melee, clasped his fingers and said, yes. Although I don't really want to admit it, that bad old man is indeed my grandfather. Hiss. Everyone couldn't help but gasped and opened their mouths wide. Surprise. Garp. The Marine Hero is probably the top position of Marine. His grandson, Monkey D. Luffy, actually chose to go to sea and become a pirate. Luffy, then who is your father? Soon, everyone realized that the Monkey D. family might not be that simple. Luffy tilted his head and didn't think of it for a long time. But soon, the video answered this question for Luffy. Dad is the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon. Ah. Shocked again. At the same time, people all over the world are fighting against Luffy and his family. Grandpa, marine hero. Dad, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. Luffy, the big pirate. Hiss. Soon someone thought carefully and thought with horror. The entire three-party faction in the pirate world is occupied by the monkey family. Co-authoring a family. Black, gray, and white are all in one. No matter which side is powerful, it can guarantee to remain standing. Everyone couldn't help but sweat secretly. Make up your mind. If you see the monkey family in the future, you will definitely run away. Especially Monkey D. Luffy. If you really offend him, won't you face retaliation from the three parties? And this doesn't end there. The video is still playing. The guide on the pirate road is red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 Sea Emperors. MD. This background, isn't it invincible? New world, an unknown sea area. Ha 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 ha. Captain, look, that kid in Windmill Town is really famous. The red-haired Shanks looked up at Luffy in the video, then looked down at the slightly swaying sleeves, and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. The information continues to be exposed. The eldest brother is Ace, the second captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, one of the 4 Sea Emperors. The second brother is the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, Sob. The captain of the second team of the Whitebeard Pirates, Fire Fist Ace. Sob, the second in command of the Revolutionary Army. These 2 pieces of information are indeed inferior to the above. But, Sob. At the same time, in different time and space, 2 exclamations sounded at the same time. Luffy and Ace were stunned for several seconds before they came back to their senses. Sob. Sob is still alive. Revolutionary Army territory. I was watching the video of Sob when I saw this. Suddenly he covered his head and whined in pain. The next second he fainted. But the second sister-in-law was so worried that after being inspected by Belong, she felt relieved and returned to the house to rest with her sickly husband in her arms. This powerful background is so incredible that it's hard to believe. In addition, Joey Boy, Sun God Nika and the original rubber fruit enter the form of the human fruit fantasy beast species Nika. Blessed Wong Lufei with a stronger background. Nika the Sun God. Joy Boy. The human fruit phantom beast Nika form. Every single one of them is enough to cause a huge earthquake in the world, but now it appears on Luffy at the same time. Everyone in the entire pirate world is now shocked beyond words, just looking up at the video blankly. Boss Mau Mau once said, in ancient times, slaves believed that one day a legendary warrior, the sun god Nika, would appear to rescue them, and he was a warrior who could liberate everyone from their hardships and rescue them. A warrior who brings smiles. Since Luffy went to sea, the Straw Hats have been helping their friends who are suffering to be liberated from their suffering, and the indispensable banquet afterwards has also cleverly dealt with the word pleasure. Straw Hat Luffy has undoubtedly inherited Joey Boy's will. Inherited Joy Boy's will. I don't know where. Vegabank raised his head and stared at Luffy inside the giant screen in shock. During the previous duel with Kaido, Luffy entered the Nika form, which had already shocked Vegabank and made him suspicious. And now, Vegabank raised his head and said in shock, God. It's exactly the same as the legendary god. Rubber fruit. There is no record of rubber fruit in the ancient Devil Fruit Encyclopedia. Same. Robin on the Mary looked at Luffy beside him, sweat dripping from his forehead. The liberating warrior who always makes people smile, Joy Boy. There is also another name, Sun God Nika. The video does not have too much explanation, but comes to the vice captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Zoro. Second generation vice captain, Zoro. Vice captain. As soon as this statement came out, some people laugh and some people cry at Melly. Zoro said to Sanji's pretended disdain, did you see, I am the deputy captain, the perverted cook. Ba ba ba. Sanji was the first to refuse, but yelled at Zoro, you are a fart. Zoro shrugged his shoulders and did not continue to refute, but looked like facts speak louder than words. Zoro was not directly introduced in the video, but the figure of Haguro appeared. The moment I saw Zoro, I remembered Shimotsuki Gyumaru. The silhouette of Shimotsuki Gyumaru in the memory, it looks exactly like Zoro. Therefore, Zoro's biological father is probably Shimotsuki Ushimaru. Shimotsuki Gyumaru is a member of the Shimotsuki family and the last daimyo in Wano country. Father. Zoro, who was still competing with Sanji for the vice-captain, couldn't help but murmured softly, Wano country. Shimotsuki Gyumaru. Zoro doesn't know who his father is, and he never even cared about it. And now, Zoro secretly wrote down the name of Shimotsuki Gyumaru, and the country of Wano seemed to be Zoro's destination. The pictures flashed by one by one. The Straw Hat Pirate's existence is full of speculation. Navigator Nami. Nami. So beautiful. Everyone in the pirate world looked up at Nami's photo on the giant screen, and their mouths were watering. Aboard the Mary. Ah. Is there still me? Nami instantly clasped his hands together and kept praying, please, give me a way to survive. The video on the giant screen didn't seem to hear Nami's prayer. Nami. Suspected to be ancient weapon Uranus. Nani. Nami's pupils instantly dilated infinitely. He pointed at the giant screen in the sky in shock and said plausibly, slander, I'm going to sue you for slander. Uranus. Nami chuckled helplessly. Me. Am I worthy? But the video is still playing on its own, regardless of the life or death of others. Pluton is the battleship that conquers land. Poseidon conquers the sea. There is a high probability that Uranus will be used to dominate the sky. Hiss. I'm afraid many people have heard of the reputation of the three ancient weapons. When they looked up at Nami, the fire in their eyes had almost been extinguished. Uranus. This is Uranus, one of the three ancient weapons. Who dares to make a mistake? Do you still want to kill me? Nami is extremely gifted in Tianhe and geographical knowledge. Even the great sea routes that are difficult to predict and change can be predicted by physical perception. It can be seen that Nami is very likely to be like Poseidon, whose talent comes from family inheritance, and is also a certain king who had an agreement with Joy Boy hundreds of years ago. Hiss. King. The king who made a promise with Joy Boy. On the Mary, Luffy yelled at Nami, Nami, you are also a king. And I also made an agreement with that boy, so I said, you will be my navigator. Nami held her chin, and she even had some doubts, am I really Uranus? Who is not a king? But the video is not over yet. Straw Hat Pirates, Sniper Usopp. Ah. On the Mary, Usopp covered his face and ran around on the deck. Why am I still there? No. Jumaku didn't even give Nami face, how could it possibly give Usopp face? Usopp is several levels higher than the previous ones, Luffy, Zoro, Nami. Usopp's identity suddenly seems too simple. Simple. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but heaved a sigh of relief. Finally someone with a clean life experience is here. Each powerful background can scare people to death. Usopp's father is the third in command of the red-haired pirates, Jesus Bu. MD. Father, the third in command of the red-haired pirates. You want to simplify this background. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Wow, it's so scary. Many pirates sailing on the sea couldn't help but look up to the sky and howl loudly. Mom, I don't want to play anymore, I want to go home. This pirate seems to be incapable of being a pirate without any background. Pirate, this is a pirate. Can't everyone be a pirate for 2 days? Isn't he a pirate with a very low threshold? Is the threshold so high now? My father is the third in command of the red-haired pirates, so he has a simple background. But I have to say, think carefully about the life experiences of Luffy, Zoro, and Nami. This is indeed a bit innocent. Jesus Bu, an almost invincible sharpshooter. At the same time, Usopp's talent in this area was also passed on to his son. However, Jesus' optimist character did not really affect his son. On the contrary, because Jesus abandoned his family in pursuit of his ideals, Usopp developed a liar from an early age. New World, Jesus Bu, who looks a little proud, can't help but feel a little disappointed when looking at the introduction in the video. Man. Dream. Family. What a difficult relationship to balance. Then, Usopp from Mary's eyes filled with tears and opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. But Usopp, the most ordinary existence among the Straw Hats, has opened a way for his partners to survive in crisis after crisis. Similarly, compared to the great vows made by the partners when they entered the Grand Line to become one piece, to become the world's best swordsman, to draw a map of the world, and to find Aulu. Quote. Usopp just wants to be a sea warrior. Everyone in the pirate world looked up at Usopp in the video, inevitably feeling a little sympathetic. But he was soon scolded by the people around him. Cry, you are crying. Is your father a leader of the red-haired pirates? Hiss. It's not a good review, it's really not a good review. The video does not pause, but continues to play. The Straw Hat Pirates see Chef, Sanji, a veritable lecherous prince. He is the little prince of the Vinsmoke family, the only maritime royal family in the world, and also the prince of the legendary evil army Germa 66. Army of Evil. Jamal 66. Isn't this a legendary existence? Does it really exist? War experts, Evil Army. Germa 66 is a household name in North Blue, an evil organization that can make children stop crying. Aboard the Mary, Luffy, Nami and others looked Sanji up and down. Sanji's face was gloomy. At some point, he had a cigarette stuffed in his mouth, and he was staring at the video on the giant screen with a gloomy face. Artificial Man. The video continues to play. When Sanji's father, Judge, questioned the researcher, he made it clear that Sanji was a failure and just an ordinary person. Judge completely gave up on Sanji and became an outcast of the Vinsmoke family. But since Sanji put on Germa's special battle suit, he actually showed the characteristics of an artificial human body. Give up. Abandoned son. The picture in the video continued to flicker, and Sanji's whole body couldn't help but tremble crazily. Jamal's special battle suit. Put it on. There is no way I can put on the Germa battle suit. I have nothing to do with the Vinsmoke family. Sanji almost shouted these words. No matter how violent Quinn attacks Sanji, Sanji's body can withstand it all. Also, Quinn once questioned why Sanji could use ham. And Quinn also mentioned the new race Lunaria. There is no doubt that Quinn, as a member of the mad scientists, can see from various clues that Sanji is not very human. Judge thought that Sanji was the most failed child, but he never thought that Sanji was actually the child who really succeeded in the experiment. What? North Blue, the heavily guarded Vinsmoke family. Judge stared blankly at the video on the giant screen, his whole body trembling continuously. The experiment was successful, the child who really succeeded in the experiment. But now, Sanji is a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, and Luffy's strong background, even the Vinsmoke family has to weigh it. If you dare to touch Luffy, I'm afraid there will be an earthquake in the world. The Straw Hat Pirates ship's doctor, Chopper. Ah. Chopper looked up and stared at the giant video in surprise, and said with some surprise, is there me too? Didn't I just join? What Chopper didn't know was that even those who hadn't joined yet were all in the video, not to mention those who had just joined. Compared with Luffy's human fruit Phantom Beast, the human fruit Chopper ate is slightly ordinary. As for Chopper's identity and background, there is nothing particularly outstanding among this group of officials, second generation. It's like a blue-nosed reindeer who was racially profiled for eating the Renren fruit by mistake. Then when he tried to change his direction and integrate into humans, he was rejected by the panicked people. In the end, after meeting Dr. Cerulean, I learned the moral character of a doctor, and under the care of the witch Doliniang, I learned the skills of a doctor. Hiss. Civilian. Are these the real civilians? Kind. Really gracious. Who would have thought that one day, people could have empathy with a deer? Wow, it turns out that we are ordinary people. Straw Hat Pirates archaeologist, Robin. Robin, O'Hara's surviving scholar, like her mother, has extraordinary attainments in archaeology. You can interpret historical texts at the age of 8. The reason why Robin and his parents are so smart is that they may be from the Yi people of the kingdom who were wiped out by the world government 800 years ago. Hiss. Robin Chan. So beautiful. How can such a person really exist? Beautiful and smart. Robin Chan, I want to marry you. One Piece ship repairman, Frankie. Frankie is the only man in the Straw Hats who has met Odin and Roger before they were alive, and almost became the crew member of One Piece. First of all, Frankie is the child of a pirate. According to Mr. Tom, Frankie told his parents that they thought he was an unruly kid, so they threw him into the sea from the boat. And after Mr. Tom said this, he laughed and sighed, he really looked like some bad pirates. So Mr. Tom also knows pirates who are similar to Frankie's description, but maybe the object he associates with Frankie's life experience is also related to a certain extent, so this is why Roger, after hearing Frankie's deeds, I came up with the reason why I want to take him with me. One Piece musician, Brook. It is known that Luffy's grandfather Garp, a man who was active in the Rocks era, is 78 years old, and Brook, who is now a skeleton, is 90 years old. Brook's seniority is above that of his own captain's grandfather. Hiss. How many? 90 years old. Everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but take a breath. This is really the existence of Grandpa's generation. A long time ago, Brook was just the captain of a certain country's guard. Later he joined the Lombard pirates and became the acting captain after the captain left. Finally, he died under the enemy's poisonous weapon. But because Brook ate the underworld fruit before he was alive, his soul wandered around the world and returned to his original body. Brook's life journey in the first half of his life can be simply summarized like this. Yellow spring fruit. The soul wanders around the world and can return to its original body. The fruit of eternal life. Isn't this possible for eternal life? Everyone couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. Everyone in the Straw Hat Pirates is not a fuel-efficient lamp. Melly. Luffy, Nami, Zoro and others looked at each other. Brook. Wonkwon fruit. Straw Hat Pirates. Aren't we the Straw Hat Pirates? How come I haven't met Brook? One Piece helmsman, Jinbei. In his childhood, Jinbei began to learn fool's karate, and Jinbei soon became a member of the Ryugu kingdom. It's just that after Tiger bravely broke into the Celestial Dragon's residence and liberated the slaves, Jinbei, who admired Tiger, resolutely gave up his duties in the army and joined the Sun Pirates. The original Jinbei hated human beings just like the original Eren, and often treated humans with a vengeful attitude. However, as a bystander, Jinbei also calmed down after witnessing the princess's ideas and Big Brother Tiger's persistence. Later, Jinbei joined Shichibukai for the future of the Fish People, and subordinated the Sun Pirates to Big Mom. But in order to help the Whitebeards he admired, Jinbei also tore up the virtual relationship with the government. For such a reliable and loyal big brother, who can distinguish right from wrong, Jinbei's life experience is the most powerful background. Jinbei. Shichibukai Jinbei. Ah. He's also from our pirate group. The video on the giant screen slowly ended. Everyone in the pirate world has not yet recovered from the shock. Official second generation. A large group of officials, second generation. Who dares to provoke this? If you offend Marine, you are only offending Marine headquarters, the world government. And if you provoke Luffy, you will offend all the powerful forces in the pirate world. Marine headquarters. Revolutionary Army. Emperor of the Sea. I would rather mess with the Celestial Dragons than Straw Hat Luffy. Someone's words in the crowd have become an eternal saying in everyone's mind. Aboard the Mary. Zoro, Nami, Sanji and others looked at each other, feeling familiar yet unfamiliar to each other. Fortunately, we really got to know each other today. Right now. Several extremely dazzling rays of light fell from the sky, all falling impartially on Zoro and others, completely covering them. Luffy stood in front of Nami and the others. Feel the changes in the strength of Zoro and others. A few seconds later, the muscles all over Zoro's body swelled, and he exerted force on his feet. He was instantly in the air, and half of his arms were covered with armed domineering. Swing out a sword. The black and green sword energy is completely natural, and the turbulent sea seems to be cut off. Sanji pushed both feet at the same time, and the whole person stepped on the moonwalk, and was instantly in the air. Under the light curtain, Zoro and others have obtained the combat power of Wano Kingdom in advance. When people are strong, it will change a lot of endings. The Grand Line. Ace landed on an island and seemed to be looking for traces of a group of people. Old enemy. Destiny. It's all inevitable. But this time, Luffy, who has the fighting power of Wano, is about to land to fight the war. The sun god Nika form will bring liberating laughter to Malinduo. With the combat power of the quasi-four emperors, the Straw Hat Pirates intervene. It seems to be more lively at the top. Before Zoro and others could recover, the giant screen in the sky began to flicker again, as if another shocking secret was about to be revealed. For a moment, everyone in the pirate world held their breath again. Looking forward to this video. Under the eager gaze of everyone, the black title came into view. The 13 Taibos of the East China Sea. Stomped on Straw Hat Luffy, smashed the wine bottle and hit 4 emperors, red hair. As soon as the title comes out, it aroused heated discussion among everyone. Stepping on Straw Hat Luffy. Smash the redhead with a wine bottle. Hiss. Is this still the East China Sea? Isn't it said that it is the weakest sea area? 13 Taibao of the East China Sea. One man is the king of thieves. Fighting saint. Axe emperor. Great girl. Jafao. Football. Knifesmith. God of swords. Juggernaut. Near Poseidon. Wufu. Everything is possible. Agent. Credit Dao Lang. Names and images flashed one by one. Everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but swallow their saliva. King. Saint. Emperor. How? God. Just listening to the name, it seems to be more domineering than those 4 sea emperors. Is there really crouching tiger, hidden dragon in the East China Sea? Becoming the emperor of the sea is just the ticket to meet the 13 Taibos of the East China Sea. The video did not drag on forever, but continued to play. Bandit King Sig. Possessing the supremely sharp sword, Hikuma sword, he unified the bandit world more than 20 years ago. I once made a bold statement. The water has Roger One Piece, and I am the king of the Red Earth continent. After Sig single-handedly slaughtered 8 million pirates, there was a bounty of 8 million. Bandit world. Hiss. Red Earth Emperor, I am the king. I killed 8 million pirates to get a reward of 8 million. Everyone could not help but murmur softly, arrogance, simply too arrogance, and killing 8 million people for only 8 million bounties. Sig has killed 56 pirates like Red Hair before. Because he has killed 56 of the original 60 sea emperors, which is why we have the current situation of 4 emperors. Nani. Killed 56 sea emperors. 60 sea emperors. For a moment, everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. 60 sea emperors had never been heard of. New world. In the territory of the red-haired pirates. Ha 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 ha. Captain, look, Sig is actually the bandit king. Ha 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 ha, I was laughing so hard. Killed 56 sea emperors. The surrounding leaders of the red-haired pirates looked at Shanks and shouted. Even Shanks laughed a little and shook his head. Windmill Village, I miss it so much. I don't know if I miss the wine of Windmill Village or the people of Windmill Town. Later, when Sig lived in seclusion in Windmill Village, he even threw a wine bottle and hit 4 emperors, red hair because he stepped on Straw Hat Luffy. In the end, he was eaten alive by Poseidon, and the bandit king fell. It's not an unjust death. Indeed, after provoking the biggest official, second-generation Luffy and 4 emperors, the redhead still wants to live. It's just a foolish dream. Boxing Saint Dayton. Dayton and the boxing god Garp are brothers and sisters, coming from the same lineage of the Iron Fist sect. In Windmill Village, there are many Malins. Dayton and Garp looked at the introduction on the giant screen and exclaimed at the same time. Brothers and sisters. Iron Fist Gate. Is there any? I fought alongside my senior brother Garp in the Valley of Gods. I almost beat the 4 emperors' aunt to death when she was young. After becoming famous in the first battle, she was hailed as the strongest woman in the world. Now there is one more person who said, New World Cake Island, Big Mom. Beat me till I lose my wits. Is it me? Dayton, I will live in seclusion in Windmill Village soon to take care of Ace and Luffy for my senior brother. And taught his 2 brothers, Fire Fist, and Rubber Fist, respectively. It turns out that Fist Saint Dayton is Straw Hat Luffy's first master. No wonder I was so thoroughly inspired by Kaido's potential stimulating stick talent. It turns out he has a good foundation. When Garp returned to Windmill Village after the battle, the angry Dayton broke Garp's invincible iron block with his iron fist and beat Garp to a bloody head. This shows Dayton's high level of boxing skills. Beat Garp's head to pieces. Windmill Village. Inside the tavern. Everyone unconsciously started to move 10 meters away from Dayton and took a sharp breath of cold air. Hiss. Beat Garp until his head is bloody. This strength is more than enough to be a marine general. Dayton stood in the middle of the crowd and looked down at his fist. Fist Saint, is it her? Then, Dayton didn't know when he came to the wall and punched out. Ah! A scream came out, and at the same time there was a curse word. IXUX, you lied to lousy. Axe Emperor, Menka. He once challenged Captain Hauklo of the 10 Swords Claws and failed and lost his chin and right hand, but as a blessing in disguise he was recognized by the Pangu axe, so this supreme sharp sword became his right hand. Axe Emperor. Pangu axe. The supreme sharp knife. I have never heard of it. At this time, someone quickly became suspicious. Is it true? Why do you feel like this video is nonsense? Soon, the person who questioned received a slap from the person next to him and pointed at the still flashing picture on the video. There are pictures and there is truth. Can videos also be used for? That makes sense. Then it must be true. Currently there are only 3 people who have broken Garp's invincible iron block. Boxing Saint, Dayton. Grandson of Garp, Straw Hat Luffy. The third person is the Axe Emperor, Menka. A generation of Axe Emperor was born. He has escaped from Marine and may be on his way to challenge Claw Haukeluo. So scary. It seems like New World is safer than the East China Sea. Never go to Donghai again. The playback of the video has caused countless losses to the tourism industry in the East China Sea. Great girl, Arita. Yamato's biological sister, Kaido and Big Mom's eldest daughter. Nani. Kaido. Aunt. 4 emperors having an affair. This is really shocking information. They were sent to the most ferocious East China Sea for training since childhood, and they fought their way through with an ancestral mace. After eating the slippery fruit, the lubricating mace became even more invincible. Defamation. New World. Kaido and Big Mom shouted at the giant screen, I'm going to sue you for defamation. Big Mom, repay my innocence. Kaido, repay my innocence. Ooh, Big Mom. My innocence. At some point, 2 lines of clear tears fell on Kaido's face. The boys around him stared at Kaido with suspicious expressions, and the expressions on their faces were wonderful. They couldn't help but be curious. Big Mom. That's Big Mom. How did Boss Kaido eat it? Clawfao Klo. The only 10-sword swordsman in the world, holding the most unique and supreme sharp sword, 10-claw blade. Marine creates 6 styles of shaving based on his silent steps. I defeated the Axe Emperor Menka before he became famous and cut off his right hand. 10-claw blades. The supreme sharp knife. Another big sharp knife. And look, he is actually the founder of Marine 6 styles. Yes, he also cut off the Axe Emperor's right hand. He is another peerless strong man. Football. Zapu. It was once as famous as Garpa's, fist and kick. Nani. An existence with the same name as Lieutenant General Garp again. One of them slapped his head. I think about it, isn't Lieutenant General Garp also from Donghai? Could it be that there really is an Iron Fist Gate? I feel there is, otherwise how could there be so many strong people? The people around him nodded seriously when they heard this. How about we all go to the East China Sea to become apprentices? Join the Iron Fist sect. There is a legend in the world that Garp is the best in boxing skills, and Zapu is the best in kick skills. Marine 6 styles, the founder of Lanji. Everyone in the world thinks that the slipper mark on the dragon's face was left by Garp, but in fact it was made by Garp when he taught Longfang Shen's feat. Lanji. Another founder of 6 styles. Did Marine learn all 6 moves from pirates? Revolutionary Army Base Area. Sabo and his second sister-in-law, who had regained consciousness, looked up. Take a closer look at the tattoo on the dragon's face. Have to say, the more I look at it, the more it looks like footprints. The 2 of them were mumbling, but still didn't dare to ask. At this time, Long's intestines were already turning green. Why did he get such a tattoo in his head? Knifesmith, Koshiro. Koshiro, on the surface he is a dojo master, but in reality he is the strongest swordsmith. Through the secret method of the Shimotsuki family, I inherited the forging fruit of my father Kozaburo, and gained the ability to forge all things. I once created 6 supreme sharp swords. 6 supreme sharp knives. Aren't there only 12 in total in the world? Half of it came from Koshiro's hand. The video is narrating at this time. Among them are Hawkeye's Black Blade Knight. The Bandit King's Sun Bear Sword. Axe Emperor Menka's Pengu Axe. The 10 claw blades of Claw Haukro. The dragon slaying knife of Johnny the Sword God. The heavenly sword of Sword Saint Joseph. Because of this, under the protection of these 6 strong men, Shimotsuki village became the second Yamato Taira village after Windmill Village. Hiss. Apart from Hawkeye's Black Blade Knight, are there really any records of the others? Isn't it possible that the Supreme Sharp Sword has not 12 skills, but 17 skills? Zoro on the Mary looked at Koshiro on the giant screen, then looked down at the saber in his hand, with questions on his head. 6 big sharp knives. Why don't I have one? Sword God, Johnny, and Sword Master, Joseph. Where there is a sword god, there must be a sword master. The supremely fast dragon-slaying sword and the heavenly sword held by the two of them are both made by Koshiro, the strongest swordsmith in the world. The sword is dipped in the blood of a true dragon, and the sword is forged from meteorite iron. One sword has caused countless bloody storms in the East China Sea, making many pirates and villains frightened by the news, and making many swordsmen and swordsmen long for a battle. Hiss, true dragon's blood. Hiss, meteorite from the sky. Then how strong is this sword? Kaido and Big Mom, the 4 emperors once jointly invaded the East China Sea, but were repelled by the Sword Master in the Upside-Down Mountains. Kulokas, the person involved, recalled that he vaguely remembered that 4 conquerors' haki collided for 3 days and 3 nights. The Upside-Down Mountains were flattened by 3 meters, and the sea was covered with the wreckage of ships and pirates. The 4 emperors' pirates were known as an army of 100,000. The regiment was almost wiped out. The 2 men, covered in blood but without any scars, stood on the top of the mountain with swords in hand. Watching Kaido escape in embarrassment, he shouted out a sentence that still makes his blood boil. Ahead of the East China Sea, the 4 emperors are prohibited from entering. It's a pity that the truth of this war was covered up by the world government, but in order to commemorate these 2 East China Sea gods of war, Kurokas built 2 lighthouses next to the Jundao Mountains. This is the origin of the Twin Capes Lighthouse. Hiss. Kaido, Big Mom, why is it me again? Feng Chong was greatly hurt. Invading small Donghai, and being stopped by 2 people. Kaido and Big Mom have a hard time that they can't express. But others take it a little seriously, because the Grand Line does have Twin Points Lighthouse. So this is the origin of Twin Points Lighthouse. East China Sea. The people in Donghai who were watching the video at this time couldn't help but feel their blood boiling when they saw those 8 words. I couldn't help but raise my arms and shout loudly. Ahead of the East China Sea, the 4 emperors are prohibited from entering. At this point, the bounty hunter looking for pirates on the deck of a ship. The Sword God, Johnny, and the Sword Master, Joseph have become the patron saints of the East China Sea. Later, when Hawkeye slashed Zoro in the East China Sea, he accidentally saw the Sword Master drawing a sword next to Luffy. He was so frightened that he almost carried the boat and swam away. Fortunately, Luffy caught them both in time, so Hawkeye fought on top to help Luffy. He also taught Zoro the blind swordsmanship of, closing one eye can reduce half of the enemy. Fujitora could hear it outside the window. Clear and clear. Hiss. As the world's greatest swordsman going to change hands. Latest headlines, Eagle Eye saw the god of swords and the sword master, and was so scared that he was off. King of the Offshore Sea Black Moon. The king of the offshore sea has a dispute with Princess Shirahoshi of Fishman Island. Because I was born 1 second later than Shirahoshi, I lost the throne of ancient weapon Poseidon. But he still gained a power similar to that of Poseidon, so he was called, Near Poseidon. In order to save Luffy, the 4 emperors Shanks reluctantly invited Poseidon to eat the bandit King Sig alive at the cost of sacrificing a left arm. Hiss. King of the Offshore. Shirahoshi, Black Moon. What a wonderful fight. What a terrifying Poseidon it must be to have the red-haired Shanks sacrifice his left arm. But some people are obviously more concerned about another piece of information. World Government, Marine Headquarters. Ancient Weapon, Poseidon. Shirahoshi. Check immediately. The 2 orders were issued almost at the same time, and the mighty team began to move towards Fishman Island. Wufu, Crick. The Grand Admiral of the East China Sea Fleet, the most promising overlord to unify the East China Sea, wears golden armor with hidden weapons, is a grandmaster with 18 kinds of martial arts, and holds a supremely sharp sword that rivals the white-bearded Kong Yunchi battle gun. I once fought with Whitebeard who was passing by the East China Sea for 7 days and 7 nights with no outcome. In the end, both sides were injured and left Only then were they picked up by Hawkeye and chased all the way. Creek, who had already lost his health, was defeated by the protagonist Luffy. Quote. This time it's changed. Whitebeard calls out the criticism for being ruined. The battle lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. But what the people seem to care more about is the supreme sharp knife, the battle gun. Another supremely sharp knife that I have never heard of. 16 jobs. There are already 16 supreme sharp knives. Everything is Ajin. Ajin, an Ajin man who ate the Ajin fruit. Ajinran, Ajinhun, and Ajin are all mysterious people. Anyone who doesn't show his face can be regarded as Ajin. He often incarnates into various big bosses to play games in the world. I knocked down Sanji, the descendant of Zapu, with a few moves, and knocked out the martial arts warrior Crick with one punch. They are all cruel people. Arkin fruit. Is this Paramesha fruit? He is the marine monster Green Bull General. He is the most powerful brain Vegapunk. He is the legendary pirate Rocks. He is Joyboy, the son of prophecy. He is even the king of the world I am Sama. He once left a prophecy to Luffy, see you again on the Great Line in the future. I wonder what identity Akin will appear in front of the Straw Hats. When everyone heard that Akin had so many titles, they couldn't help but murmur to themselves, General Marine, the most powerful brain. King of the world. Ah Jin, who is he? Mysterious, indeed a mysterious person. No way, no way. At this time, a Wolong said excitedly, could it be that the Akin fruit, this fruit has the ability to disguise itself? As the saying goes, where there are crouching dragons, there must be phoenix chicks. Could it be that these people are all the same person, Ah Jin? Never thought that now, no matter what you say, people will believe it, it makes sense. Credit Dao Lang, Ippon Song. The strongest man in Rogue Town is not Smoker, but Ippon Matsu, who lives in seclusion in a weapons store. No one knows the true age of this bald man, but he knows the secrets of the D family and the truth that has been blank for 100 years. He is responsible for subverting the mission of the celestial dragons to rule Rogue Town. Ipponmatsu, who was still looking at the giant screen with interest outside the weapons store, suddenly looked up and saw his name appearing on the giant screen, and couldn't help but panic. What's there to say about selling weapons by yourself? But who would have expected? The direct words are shocking. Do you know D's family? Ippono exclaimed in a loud voice. D. Is it D from ABCD? What secret does D have? This isn't over yet. The truth about 100 years of blank time. Everyone around looked at the bald man with surprise. And a Matsumoto person is also full of confusion. What is 100 years of blank time? The mission to overthrow the rule of the celestial dragons. The last sentence was like a heavy blow. The people around him dispersed quickly as if they were escaping from a virus, leaving only Ihenmatsu alone in the center. Celestial dragons. This is the real god. The god who controls this world. Subvert their rule. Ipponmatsu swallowed on the spot, as if all the strength in his body had been taken away, he slumped on the spot. But the video isn't over yet. What is a credit card man? It is a mysterious profession inherited from the Guigu lineage that suddenly disappeared 800 years ago. He will give the target person a famous sword or devil fruit on credit, and leave a mysterious prophecy by the way. When the prediction comes true, the target person will definitely pay the price will be paid back to the creditor. What ability is this? The people around me were not too busy eating melons and started talking one after another. This kind of profession is a bit scary, isn't it? Is he still a prophet? As the 18th generation swordsman of the Oni Valley Gate, Ipponmatsu can strategize and win thousands of miles away without leaving home. Roger, Whitebeard, Luffy's father Ryu and even Zoro are all his pawns. And the person he was playing against was the king of the world I am Sama. Ipponmatsu once killed thousands of CP assassins sent by IM in one night, leaving only the weakest one, Foz Fu, to go back and report the news. Poor Foz Fu was thrown into the underwater prison by the angry IM because he failed to escort the rubber fruit before. Ah! Is this the real strong hermit? Roger, Whitebeard, Dragon. Who is not a legendary figure who is famous throughout the ages, but can only become Ipponmatsu's chess piece. Play chess with IM, the king of the world. As for the word IM, no one even dares to mention it. Strong man. Real strong man. Only Ipponmatsu looked up at the giant screen with his face ashen as death. Soon, the video began to explain Ipponmatsu's glorious deeds. Before Roger set out from Rog Town, Ipponmatsu gave him the ace, the supreme sharp knife, on credit, and predicted that he would reach the final island and become one piece. Finally, when Roger was executed in his hometown, the era of great pirates began. Monkey D. Long met Ipponmatsu during Roger's execution and obtained the most violent logia fruit, the Fengfeng fruit, from him. After learning that he would become a great thinker and revolutionary leader, Long made a decisive decision. I gave up the future of General Marine and embarked on a revolutionary path to lead the people to resist the rule of the celestial dragons. Zoro came to the weapons store to buy a knife by chance. Ipponmatsu could tell at a glance that Zoro was the embryo of a sword fairy that could not be seen in a century, so he deliberately set up a trap to let him get the demon sword third generation Kidetsu and Ryokai Tuyuki, and prophesied he will be the greatest swordsman in the world. Hiss. Soon, the entire weapons store was surrounded by marine soldiers. Ippon Song swallowed helplessly. A strong wind blew up. After calm down, there was no trace of Ipponmatsu. So far, the legendary story of Ipponmatsu has been circulating in Rog Town. A first-class big shot. The video on the giant screen slowly comes to an end. This time, the giant screen did not shoot any light beams. Time passed little by little. After the giant screen played the 13 taibos of the East China Sea, it became silent without any movement. The world of pirates is slowly returning to peace. The capital of Seven Waters. In a tavern, Luffy was immersed in the food in front of him. The old man wearing a dog head hat stretched his legs like a cross and slowly approached like a thief. Fists raised. Swing it down hard. Bang. A loud bang. The wooden round table instantly shattered, and Luffy was only a fraction of a second away from this iron fist. Ah! When Luffy turned around, he no longer cared about the meat in his mouth. He was dozens of meters away in an instant, looking at the old man with a dog's head and hat in horror. Grandpa. Grandfather. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused. Garp scratched the back of his head in embarrassment for a moment. Hello. However, Garp soon reacted and shouted at Luffy. Luffy, you really stole the show, you are on the video, and you are causing trouble on Judiciary Island again. Having said that, Garp stopped hiding and his right hand was instantly covered with armed domineering energy. Like a cannonball, it rushed towards Luffy. Grandpa, let you see me now. And Luffy didn't have any hidden clumsiness. Armed and domineering. Liu Ying is domineering. Conqueror's domineering entanglement. Use them all. Punch out. Two fists collide. The huge shock wave generated turned the surrounding buildings dozens of meters into ruins. Moment. When the collision ended, both of them retreated tens of meters. Today's Luffy is definitely among the top ones in terms of strength. Of course, Garp didn't try his best. He just wanted to test it out and didn't want to kill his precious grandson. Pirates. Marine. The war is about to break out. Hufufu. But who knew that at this moment, Luffy and Garp snored carelessly in front of everyone. Asleep. Just fell asleep like this. What woke them up was the sound coming from the giant screen. Take stock of the top reckless men in One Piece 4. One-on-one battle with generals, tearing apart the four emperors. Who do you think I am? Move the boat over. The long-awaited giant screen lights up again. A critical hit at the opening. Challenge a general. Hand tear four emperors. I lost it. This must be another big news that shocks the pirate world. Pa. Listening to the comments of the people around them, both grandfather and grandson came over, rubbed their sleepy eyes, and looked up at the giant screen. There is Jack in front of the boat, and there is Kid with a broken arm in the back. There is such a special profession in the world of pirates. It is unstoppable and its achievements are all based on recklessness. Occasionally it is a little bright, but most of the time it is defeated. Of course, this kind of talent is rare, but it's definitely not impossible. Jack. Jack, one of the three major poster boards of the Beast's pirates. Kid broke his arm. Who is Kid? Haven't you heard? The most powerful supernova with a bounty of 315 million. 315 million Baileys. The strongest. I don't accept it. In terms of strength, who can compare with Straw Hat Luffy? Soon, along with everyone's discussion, the video on the giant screen began to play. Top reckless man. Jack. Jack is the weakest sign of the beast's pirates, but with that sentence, "Who do you think I am?" he pulled the ship over and became the spokesperson for the courage and spirit of the Great Line. New World. On the Ghost Island. What? As one of the three weakest signboards, Jack immediately went crazy when he saw the introduction of the video on the giant screen. The weakest. I am the weakest. Quinn, am I the weakest? Jack looked at Quinn with a frustrated look. Moment. No answer. Jin, am I the weakest? Jack turned to look at Jin again. Still no answer. In desperation, Jack could only place his hope on Boss Kaido. Boss, am I the weakest? As Jack's close brother, Kaido naturally cannot ignore Jack. Yes. That's a crisp and clear answer. Ah. There may be several One Pieces, but there is only one Piece. Although Jack is the younger brother among the three disasters, he dares to directly challenge the Marine Fleet with Fleet Admiral Sengoku, General Fujitora, and General Staff Crane, and single-handedly fight against the power of destroying the country. Nani. Quinn, Jin et al. Even Kaido looked at Jack in surprise. You kid are tired of living. Warring states period. General Crane. Even Kaido himself has to consider this kind of lineup. But at this time, the members of the 100 pirates were all reckless, and like crazy, they raised their weapons and shouted to the sky, "Ship King Jack." By Jack the Ship King. Those who don't know better think that the king of ships is really a king. Jack became famous in one battle and reached the pinnacle of his life. Long-term dominance in the ranking of the top reckless men in the pirate world. In terms of strength alone, compared to Quinn and Jin, Jack doesn't have anything particularly outstanding, but his physique is extremely tough. Jack, a person with the ability to take the form of an ancient mammoth from the elephant fruit. It is an ancient species and a mammoth. It gives Jack the vitality of thick skin and flesh. At the same time, it is also a saddlestone Madara fish man. The saddlestone Madara fish man is a powerful carnivorous deep-sea fish. Jack's recklessness is engraved in his bloodline factor. The Fishmen tribe. Jack, one of the three main posters of the Beast Pirates, is actually a fishman. Everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but look at Jack in the video carefully, and even widened their eyes. This doesn't look like it either. You don't look like a fish man at all. The fishmen are also representatives of powerful vitality in the world of pirates. As an esper, Jack can survive on the bottom of the sea for this reason. With so many buffs, Jack can't stop being reckless. Can't stop at all. Isn't it? Could it be? Could it be that Jack has done something even more outrageous? Everyone couldn't help but twitch their throats, and stared at the video being played on the giant screen without blinking. After challenging the Marine Dream Team, I challenged another strongest creature, the Elephant Lord. As a result, Jack was slapped by his old man's nose. Elephant Lord. This kid Jack even dares to challenge the elephant owner. Kaido looked at Jack as if he were a fool. Lost heart disease. This kid Jack is definitely suffering from mental illness. Later in Wano country, while Jack was catching pirates, he bumped into Comrade Ashura for no apparent reason. He immediately started talking trash and then got stabbed. When it came to the decisive battle on Ghost Island, Jack directly led a group of younger brothers to fight against the Moonlight Lions. In the end, all his teeth were knocked out and his worth plummeted. However, after all this, Jack still didn't give up. He used tape to tape up his teeth and started to duel with Inuarashi again. In the end, he was kicked. Who is the most reckless Jack that he has ever defeated? Hiss. Who have you defeated? No wonder it's the weakest among the three major signboards. Everyone who was watching the video couldn't help but say, it's really a bit weak. Why does it feel like I can slap him twice even if I go up? Ghost Island. Ship King Jack. Boat. Jack. Jack. Those little fans who were originally Jack's fans couldn't help but shout, fool. The second of the four top reckless men, Badgers. Bajis is one of the bosses of the Blackbeard Group's entrepreneurial team. Blackbeard has been hunted from the beginning, and those who are chasing them are the Whitebeard Pirates, the world's #1 pirate group. You can imagine what kind of ruthless people are willing to follow Teach in this situation. They must be very muscular and simple. Blackbeard Group. The first half of the Grand Line. Thieves ha 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 ha. The rugged-looking Blackbeard, who was wearing jewelry, looked up at the video being played on the giant screen, Blackbeard Group Entrepreneurship Team, thieves ha 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 ha, I like it. But Badgers on the side couldn't help laughing. Muscular and simple. Using Jack as an example earlier, Badgers knew that this reckless man was definitely not exaggerating. New World. Seeing the fleeting scene of Blackbeard on the video, Whitebeard's expression instantly turned gloomy. As Whitebeard's most caring son, Marco immediately said, "Dad, Ace must be fine." Whitebeard still said nothing, just nodded slightly. The grand line. Ace raised his head and stared at the Blackbeard on the giant screen, his eyes becoming cold and stern. Blackbeard, who betrayed and killed his family, must die. And he, Ace, had to catch it with his own hands. Teach, I will find you. When I first appeared, I ran to Demon Valley Town alone and challenged my opponents very arrogantly. I was a fighting champion and directly caused a wave of hatred. If Nami hadn't stopped me, I would have been beaten up by Luffy and Zoro. The City of Water. Marine and pirates sat in a row in harmony. Luffy and Garp were sitting at the front, and they were eating senbei happily. It turns out that this stupid guy's name is Badgers. Garp was eating senbei while looking at Luffy. Just one hit. Garp has already sensed the change in Luffy's strength. Powerful. Powerful. A kind of strength that even Garp has to admit. Luffy, who is specially trained by Kaido's mentor with the potential stimulating stick, is indeed a bit scary. Even if Akainu is standing here, he will not be Luffy's opponent. The video on the giant screen continues to play. Badges met Ace later. Before Ace could finish his words, teammate Van Oka took action directly. Badges also came to join in the fun. He lifted up the house and wanted to hit Ace, but was severely blocked by Ace. The pillar of fire rebounded directly. The opponent missed it, but it almost blew up Blackbeard. Looking at the scene in the video, Ace was slightly startled. Encountered. He met Blackbeard. At this moment, the outline of a small town appeared in Ace's eyes. Ace took out the permanent pointer, looked at the map and murmured softly, Banaro Island. Bajis has been associated with Shishao fruit ever since. 2 years later, Badgers single-handedly attacked Dressrosa and wanted to capture the burning fruit in the arena. Dressrosa. Burn the fruit. New World. Dad, there is only one devil fruit, right? Marco looked up at Whitebeard. Whitebeard's eyes suddenly shrank, and in an instant, the calm sea became rough. But soon, the sea became calm again. What should we do, Dad? Mark's voice was urgent. Whitebeard laughed heartily. Gla la la la, no matter what you say now, Ace will not stop. Marco was slightly startled. The grand line. Burn the fruit. Ace whispered softly, and suddenly his whole body stiffened. I'm dead. No matter how brave and fearless a person is, when faced with the news that he is about to die, he will probably have a moment of fear. Moment. Ace looked up at the island not far away, his eyes becoming more determined. In the face of persistence, death does not seem so terrible. The City of Water. Luffy looked at Luffy on the screen with an excited look on his face. For Luffy, who lacks common sense in life, he doesn't know about it. How deep is the doorway? Garp on the side was in a daze, and his Zongung face showed more and more vicissitudes of life. As a result, Badgers met Sabo this time. In the first fight, Badgers was beaten to a pulp by the Dragon Claw Fist. In the second fight, Badgers was blown away again by the Flame Dragon Claw Fist. Badges, the reckless man, has been frustrated ever since he met these three brothers. Buster. Nemesis. People in the pirate world who didn't know what was going on couldn't help but look at Badgers in the video with some helplessness. If you say it's fine, who can't you offend? You must provoke these 3 second-generation ancestors. Whose identity and background is not enough for Badgers to drink a pot of. I thought it was time for Badgers to stop and stop. Badger's most brilliant operation so far is here. Badges, who was seriously injured, was stuck on the bottom of the Revolutionary Army's returning boat and successfully reached the Revolutionary Army headquarters. The island of White Earth, Baldigo. In the end, Badgers brought the Blackbeard pirates and completely destroyed this place. At this point, the feud between Badgers and Sabo was finally forged. MD. With Sob's Liangzi. It's obviously Liang Zi from the Revolutionary Army. Long, with a face full of indifference, stared at Badgers on the giant screen with eyes like sharp knives. Quickly, retreat. He gritted his teeth and spit out 2 words. The base of the Revolutionary Army. was exposed like this. What is the alternative but to retreat? At the same time, several warships set sail at the same time, and the target was naturally the base of the Revolutionary Army, Bardigo. Admiral, how is it? Badgers raised his head and looked at Blackbeard with excitement. Can I do it? Blackbeard could only nodded helplessly, scolding Badgers countless times in his heart. What the hell can you do? No one has ever been beaten. In the end, Lousy earned the hatred of the Revolutionary Army, so fool you XXX. There are two red-haired men on the Grand Line. One has broken his left arm, and the other has also broken his left arm. Kid, as one of the three captains leading the new era, his rank and skill are extremely high. Back then, he was a supernova. On the Sabayati Islands, the one with the highest bounty and the highest level of danger was Kid. The limelight even overshadowed Luffy's in the tavern, just because Apto glanced at him. Bang! Kid exploded. He rushed out and was about to have a fight with Apu. Kid, with his bad temper, would be the kind of guy who wouldn't survive 2 levels if placed anywhere else. A fully open-air glass pub. A group of people drank wine and looked up at the video on the giant screen. It was a kind of comfort. And this kind of open-air glass tavern has just emerged. It's convenient to drink and watch short videos on the giant screen at the same time. Bang bang bang. At this moment, several loud noises were heard in the tavern. Where's Lousy's arm? The initiator is one of the 4 top reckless men, Little Red Hair Kid. Bang. Several more wooden tables became shattered. Young minion. Who is the little minion? People around looked up at the giant screen and down at Kid. He quickly started running away in all directions. While running, I was still thinking, sure enough, he is indeed a reckless man. But I forced Kid, a reckless man, to find a way out. Conqueror's domineering. Magnetic fruit. The unique nickname, Captain, is just like someone's nickname being Dad. When every pirate calls Kid's nickname, he will be taken advantage of without knowing it. Someone's nickname. Dad. Hiss. You might as well just reveal my ID number. New World's Whitebeard couldn't laugh or cry. In the 2 years since the Straw Hats disappeared, Kid has done a lot in New World. Kid's moves are almost all high-end games. Kid directly picked on the 4 emperors. He once made Big Mom's General Star, destroyed several ships, and made Big Mom suffer a big loss. Later, he recklessly challenged the red-haired pirates, but without even seeing the red-haired face, Beckman chopped off his left hand. Reckless. In terms of recklessness, this kid is as good as Jack. Challenge 4 emperors. You are really brave. As everyone marveled, the video on the giant screen continued to play. Kid, who didn't have the chance to become a second-generation official, took the second-generation script because he was so reckless and worked so hard, and finally he met Kaidakai's mentor. Kid faced the threat of the strongest creature. Apu jumped directly. Hawkins was forced to surrender, but Kid chose to fight. Soon, everyone in the pirate world started talking. Apu. Hawkins. Aren't they all supernovas with bounties exceeding 100 million? One jumps back and the other surrenders. Judging from this, Kid still has some courage. Of course, Kid was tortured by Kaido's mentor without any surprise. Sent to the Wano country quarry for transformation. At this time, Kid is wearing sea-carved stone handcuffs and he still doesn't want to stop. Kid played various devil muscle competitions with another reckless man in prison, and finally formed a group to go to Ghost Island to challenge the 4 emperors. After defeating Big Mom, Kid successfully proved himself and his confidence is overwhelming. Defeated Big Mom. Nani. This is 4 emperors. Did this fool really succeed? Wano country. Another fool. Hiss. I seem to have an answer in my heart. After Kid came out of Wano country, he plunged into the Dragon Kingdom Elbaf, and then met the red-haired Shanks again. Kid faced the red-haired pirates at their peak, the giant pirates who catered to the 2 captains, and countless pirates under the Red Group. This time even Kira started to worry. I didn't expect Kid to start scolding me directly. Who do you think I am? Oh, I'm sorry, let's wait until we lose and then think about the consequences. Then, not surprisingly, I was stunned by the red hair. Ha 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 ha. Kid. This is a complete selection of 4 emperors. I really hope to take over the legacy of King of Ships and become King of Ships 2.0. Everyone in the pirate world couldn't help but start a heated discussion. Jack. Badgers. Kid. These three people are so reckless, so who is the winner? How reckless is that? Is there only one word in your mind? Do it. The answer is yes. The last of the four top reckless men in the pirate world, Luffy. Luffy. It's Straw Hat Luffy again. This guy's appearance rate is a bit high. I'm convinced to let him be the winner. Do you dare to refuse to accept it? Official second generation, you dare to refuse to accept it. Monkey D. Luffy. Grandpa Monkey D. Garp is a macho man who has been riding a tiger for fun since he was a child. Daddy Monkey D. Dragon is the most dangerous criminal in the world right now. Luffy did not hesitate and decisively carried forward this family culture. Hiss. Not a good review. Look, Lieutenant General Garp has had abdominal muscles since he was a child. Pa. The person I just talked about had his head slapped by someone. Is this the point? The point is, who has a good family but a whole family of reckless people? Windmill Village equals Mang Village. 2.5 of the three major structures of the Celestial Dragons were destroyed by Luffy. Ani Ace Hall, which is in charge of justice and trial, was made a fuss by the team led by Luffy, and was brutally called by Buster, which ultimately led to destruction. The Deep Sea Great Prison advances. Because Luffy's prison escape dream team was completely broken through, the defense collapsed to this day, which also led to the escape of prisoners who advanced to the 6th floor, and they are still providing talents to the pirate world to this day. The Marine Headquarters, which symbolizes the highest combat power of Marine, has gathered 100,000 Marine elites in a top battle, as well as monster-level combat power like Shichibukai, but the newcomer Wong Luffy dares to interfere in this battle, completely ignoring the buggy behind him. How loud the scream was. At that time, I'm afraid that if any pirate fell on the battlefield, the bounty would be higher than Luffy. Starting from Alabasta, every battle Luffy has is a real high-end game. Luffy's opponents are either Shichibukai like Crocodile, Bugs like Enel, or Lu Chi, who is known as the strongest agent in 800 years, but none of them are fuel efficient. As a member of the Monkey D family, Luffy had no fear and was full of confidence when he went to sea. He immediately chose the hell difficulty and relied on a lot of blood to pass the level and defeat the enemy. For a moment, the whole world was silent. The City of Water. Even Garp, who was sitting next to Luffy, opened his mouth wide. Ani Ace Hall. Impel City. There are many Marines in the Marine Headquarters. Garp knew that Luffy had a talent for causing trouble, but he didn't expect that he would be so capable of causing trouble. Bang! Without any hesitation, Garp punched Luffy on the head. This time Luffy didn't move away, but jumped up and down holding the big bag on his head. What are you doing? Tell your kid to hold it back. No matter how rich the family is, they cannot tolerate Luffy going through such trouble. Luffy wasn't awakened until the Sabayati Islands. He realized his lack of strength and started practicing with Master Rayleigh. Luffy has completely changed after returning 2 years ago and has become even more reckless. Before arriving in the New World, he officially declared war on Big Mom, one of the 4 emperors, and then shut down Doflamingo's business in one breath, making Kaido-sensei so angry that he burst into tears. Wong Luffy felt that this was not enough, and even brought a few friends to break into Big Mom's territory. A man singled out the angry Candy Army, and then he was beaten up as expected. Luffy is so reckless just so he can eat Sanji's food. Ooh. Luffy, he is really, I cried to death. Reckless plus greedy equals no solution. Luffy has been causing trouble ever since he set foot in Wano country, directly disrupting the original strategy of Law and other partners. Battled against Kaido alone, leaving behind the legendary 8 trigrams of thunder. In the decisive battle on Onigashima, Luo learned his lesson. With Luffy and Kid in the team, these 2 reckless men can directly break through. Note: there is absolutely no such thing as attracting fire, fools. Luffy and Kid also completed the mission very successfully. After all, this is their nature. I acted in my true colors directly. Ha 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 ha, there's no 300 taels of silver here. A fool who attracts firepower. Sure enough, my talents are bound to be useful, and my recklessness also has its uses. Banaro Island. What a shame, Ace. Blackbeard stood in the center of the island, with the endless darkness produced by the dark fruit behind him. Die in the darkness. Great flame ring. Ace, who was covered in scars, shouted angrily, and the blazing flames rolled up layer by layer, completely wrapping Ace, and instantly turned into a great fireball. Flame, hot, bright. Dark water, cruel, dark. The two forces collided on the island, and shock waves destroyed all the surrounding buildings. As for the ending, it seems nothing has changed. I don't know how long it will take. Luffy sat cross-legged on the little lion, and the Wanli Sunshine headed towards the next destination of the permanent pointer. There are bubbles all around the island. Sabayati Land Islands. Luffy and his friends encountered the place where Uncle Kizaru arranged special training, but now Luffy possesses 3 colors of haki and awakens the form of sun god Nika. Zoro and Sanji are as powerful as the 3 disasters. It's really not certain who is afraid of whom. The moment Luffy and others landed on the island, the giant screen in the sky lit up again after being silent for a long time. Just a few seconds. Everyone in the pirate world gathered on the street, on the ship, in a position where they could watch the giant screen. This is big news. Every time it's big news that shocks everyone. And the giant screen didn't seem to disappoint everyone. Under the gaze of everyone, the black title slowly emerged. Repelled Marco with 1 finger. Defeated Blackbeard against Kizaru. Pluton Rayleigh took all 11 shots. The remnants of the old era that you can't afford to offend. Sure enough. As soon as the title came out, it caused waves of exclamations. Pluton Rayleigh. One Piece Roger's deputy. Kill Marco off with 1 finger. Isn't Marco the captain of the Whitebeard pirates? Against General Kizaru. Hiss. Shocked back Blackbeard. Blackbeard. Who is he? I've never heard of him, but he can be compared with Marco and General Kizaru. In fact, we can't blame everyone. Blackbeard is not famous yet. But it's coming soon. Blackbeard will soon be famous. Then he was killed by the 3 parties working together. Amid everyone's discussion, the picture on the giant screen began to flicker. How strong was the right hand of the former king? Rayleigh followed Roger and fought all his life, but when decades passed, many past events were either buried in history and became secrets, or were erased, and the world was almost about to forget Pluton's reputation. But trouble always comes. Even Rayleigh and Shachi, who have withdrawn from the world for decades, have to fight again for their descendants. I can't help but intervene in troubled times. Sabayati Islands. Outside a pub. A silver-haired old man and a beautiful woman with an attractive figure were fighting side by side. I can't help but intervene in troubled times. Pluton's reputation. Rayleigh, I give you a very good rating. Shachi looked at the young Rayleigh in the video and couldn't help covering his mouth and chuckled. Rayleigh looked at the video on the giant screen, and the corners of her mouth kept twitching. Grandma, it's best not to look like me now, otherwise I. Coincidentally, Rayleigh's words haven't finished yet. In the video, Rayleigh stands proudly, facing Blackbeard. Is Daughter Island forcing Blackbeard back or is Rayleigh taking his last shot? Rayleigh immediately became furious. There is nothing I can do. The people around looked up at the giant screen, and their bodies immediately became stiff. Almost all of these people are regulars in the tavern, and this old man is too familiar. Drunkard. Gambler. There is no such thing as a regular old lady, right? How did he transform into Pluton Rayleigh? There were also many people who made fun of and insulted Rayleigh's existence. With a cry of surprise, everyone ran away, leaving only Rayleigh and Shachi alone. In desperation, Shachi and Rayleigh could only shrug their shoulders. Under the white eye sockets, Rayleigh's eyes gradually changed from cynical to serious. Shachi, have you noticed? Since this mysterious video appeared, the sea seems to have become more interesting. Shachi looked at Rayleigh, who looked like an old man next to him, took a sip of wine, and said with a smile, "What? You want to be born?" Rayleigh couldn't help but sneered. Did you see the title this time? The remnants of the old era. I'm already old, and I still have a new life, haha. After that, Rayleigh drank the bottle in his hand. Along with the conversation between Shachi and Rayleigh, the picture on the giant screen continued to flicker. The answer is obviously no. When the huge war predicted in the future is coming, I'm afraid no one can really stay away from it. The Great War. All of a sudden, 4 emperors, world government, marine headquarters became cautious and frowned. The higher the status and the higher the power, the more afraid of war. War is a game where there is no owner, but the one in power only needs to maintain it. The Revolutionary Army, Shichibukai, and several pirates couldn't help but get excited. Before that, let us experience the power of Pluton that threatens the world. So far, Rayleigh's performance can be divided into two major stages: before retirement and after retirement. The power of Pluton. What a domineering title, as famous as the three ancient weapons. And domineering, of course there is a reason to be domineering. Before retreat. Rayleigh, one of the pillars of Roger's group. The King's Deputy. A total of 4 brilliant achievements. 1. The Battle in the Valley of the Gods. The Battle of the Valley of the Gods, Ginny will hold a massacre competition with the celestial dragons using fruits as prizes. Dragon People. Once the video is played, it caused an uproar. Dragon People. With devil fruit as a reward. Hold a massacre competition. For a time, all the people began to talk, but due to the absolute authority of the Tianlong people in this world, everyone's voices were extremely low. What a tragedy. Could it be that the lives of us ordinary people are worthless in their eyes? Yes. Some people even had red eyes, clenching their fists and staring hard at the backs of several celestial dragons on the giant screen. Gritting teeth. Sabayati Islands. The 5 elders stood by the window, their faces bloodless, and their extremely sinister faces were reflected in the spotless mirror. The news spread to the outside world, eventually attracting the Rocks pirates, Roger pirates and other pirates to attack, and then a war broke out with the Knights of God and Marine forces. In the end, Rocks was defeated by Garp and Roger together. What? For many people, these giant melons are beyond their comprehension. Roger and Garp team up. Pirates and Marine joined forces. Almost everyone couldn't help but have a strong interest in the history of that period, what exactly happened at that time. Let One Piece and Marine hero Garp join forces. Funny. Rayleigh is the deputy captain of the Roger Pirates, and the team deputy with the most say outside Rocks is none other than Whitebeard. But at that time, Whitebeard was too young and may not have reached his peak period, and the leaders of the Rocks Pirates had different ideas. I don't want to say whether Rayleigh defeated Whitebeard, but at least he delayed Rocks until the moment of defeat. Sabayati Islands, New World. Rayleigh and Whitebeard's thoughts went back to that day in the Valley of the Gods. Dad, did you win that battle? Marco on the side saw Whitebeard lost in thought and couldn't help asking. At the same time, everyone looked at Whitebeard. Curious. Who can not be curious about this? This can be said to be the pinnacle of the battle. Eula la 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 la. Whitebeard's thoughts were brought back to reality by his sons, and he laughed loudly. Moment. Whitebeard still didn't answer. Win or lose between them. Doesn't seem that important. Whitebeard only remembered the scene of that battle. There was smoke everywhere, broken walls and ruins, and the smell of blood almost broke through his nose. 2. Showdown Bullet. Rayleigh dueled with the 15-year-old Bullet in the name of being a mediocre teacher. Out of respect for his talent and wanting to teach him, Bullet and Rayleigh drew a draw. The name of a mediocre teacher. Rayleigh didn't have a good temper for being exposed on the giant screen, and now he is even more angry. Why have I become a mediocre teacher? Just because of that video. Kaido's muscular idiot became a mentor, and I became a mediocre teacher. The law of heaven, where is the law of heaven? Luffy. Rayleigh gritted his teeth and said, it's best not to let me meet you. It depends on whether I teach you or not, and you're done. Ah. Rayleigh. The words haven't finished yet. Below the tavern, an exclamation came out. Rayleigh and Shachi both looked down. Wearing a straw hat. Green algae head. Yellow curly hair. Hiss. Devil figure. Hiss. Perfect match for the royal sister. Pervert wearing only underwear. Skull. Long nose. Civet cat pet. The next second. Luffy, I will fight with you. 3. Duel with the Golden Lion. 27 years ago, the Golden Lion led a large number of warships to hunt Roger's ship. He wanted to get Roger's information about the ancient weapon, and invited Roger to join the conspiracy in the world. Golden Lion. Another great pirate, a remnant of the old era. Yes. If they had peak power, how powerful they would be. The ship's doctor, Kurokas, had already boarded the ship at that time. After knowing that Roger was terminally ill, the Roger pirates were still preparing for the final voyage. How could they have time to follow you, the golden lion Moji? Before Roger even spoke, his companions, including Rayleigh, had already guessed the captain's answer. The Roger pirates start fighting against the Golden Lion pirates. But Roger was in a desperate situation because he was terminally ill and outnumbered. Fortunately, a huge storm hit, which caused heavy losses to the fleet under the Golden Lion, allowing Roger and his gang to escape. Under the giant screen, everyone opened their eyes and watched everything that happened on the giant screen. Magnificent scenery. Peak combat power. A battle of this level is worth watching once and for all. Especially for these ordinary people, if they were standing at the battle site at that time, I am afraid that the aftermath alone would be enough to kill them many times. What a magnificent era. When the video ended, everyone couldn't help but sigh. 4. Showdown with the white-bearded thieves. Only 1 year later, 26 years ago, Roger and his gang met the Whitebeard pirates on a certain island. In this battle, Odin was the first to enter the island. Rayleigh and Jabba wanted to fight, but Roger, who was itchy, got the better of him. Later, the two sides launched a fierce battle that lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. Rayleigh immediately performed a series of superb stunts of cutting melons and vegetables, and Marco, the rookie of the Whitebeard pirates, stepped forward to challenge in the form of a phoenix and a beast. One finger. Just one finger. Rayleigh blocked Marco's all-out attack with one finger, and smiled contemptuously and said that he had always been serious. This battle was Captain Roger's final peak. During the final voyage in the next year, Roger's health deteriorated day by day. The Roger pirates never had such a high-intensity battle again. Arrogant. How arrogant. You dare to take Marco's attack with just one finger. And you smiled contemptuously. Sabayati Islands. Outside the pub on the second floor. Luffy's group, Rayleigh, Shachi and others fought in a row. Luffy on the side glanced at Rayleigh and curled his lips. Is he that strong? I don't think he can either. No matter how you say something to anger a man. Just 2 words. No. Rayleigh looked at Luffy. If looks could kill, Rayleigh would have killed Luffy long ago. As for why he didn't take action, Rayleigh really felt that Luffy's ability was indeed not weak. As a team that has been traversing the sea for decades, it is finally the first team to complete the feat of traveling around the world and landing the final product. Rayleigh must have experienced more than 4 battles with the Roger pirates. Roger and his gang have had dozens of duels with Garp alone. There must have been fights when we were fighting for the main text of Auntie's history, but the past happened with the wind, and those fights were eventually lost in those glorious years that can never be returned. The glory days that can't be returned. Just a few words. White beard. Warring states. Garp. How many memories have been brought back to Rayleigh and others? After retreating, Rayleigh has been living in seclusion on the Sabayati Islands since Roger was executed. IXU4X. Rayleigh looked up at the giant screen in the sky and output. Is Lousie's retreat also going to be exposed to Lousie? Leave a line in everything you do so that we can meet each other easily in the future. Do you understand? Obviously, the giant screen doesn't understand. Marine turns a blind eye to this. Rayleigh took 7 shots in total after retiring. 1. The Sabayati Islands slave shop is unveiled. Who would have thought that the famous Pluton would sell himself out because of gambling money? Nani. Ha 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 ha. What a cruel person. I bet on myself. Rayleigh saw the owner Diskin abusing Xiaoba's friend Kemi in the backstage of the slave shop, and he had no choice but to release his domineering power and stun these fools. Afterwards, the Straw Hats made a big fuss at the auction. Pluton and the giant Jambaloo took advantage of the chaos to come from the backstage and used conquerors to stun the celestial dragons, Cerulean Palace. Sure enough, it's Pluton Rayleigh. Not even the celestial dragons are afraid. A role model for us. Especially since the video above just showed the celestial dragons playing a hunting game with devil fruit as bets. It turns out that Rayleigh had already planned to rob the buyers at the auction and use the money to continue gambling. Unexpectedly, his acquaintance Xiaoba was also at the scene. No one needs to explain. Rayleigh had roughly guessed what happened when he saw Kemi. The next moment Rayleigh released Conquerors, instantly suppressed all the Draco attendants, and even removed the self-destruction shackles for Kemi. It is worth noting that when Rayleigh released Conquerors, he did not bypass the Heart Pirates and Kid Pirates. Both parties were affected to some extent. This is probably a kind of deterrence during the first meeting, reminding them not to mess around. On this basis, Rayleigh Senpai said, I still want to live in seclusion, and I will leave it to you. The heart pirates and kid must have no objections. Disrespecting the elderly. Rely on the old and sell the old. A gambler. Everyone couldn't help but talk about it. 2. Duel with Kizaru. According to Rayleigh's original plan, find a secluded place to coat the Sunny. The Straw Hat Pirates will find a way to survive for 3 days and then reunite with his life card. But this time it's different. It's just Kizaru who leads the team. The pacifist army is also here. The Straw Hat Pirates encountered one as soon as they arrived at the amusement park, and then they were beaten by Zan Momomaru, and finally Kizaru came on stage. In order to protect the buds of the new era, Rayleigh had to show up to fight the general at the critical moment. It can be seen from the exchange between Kizaru and Pluton that the two parties are old acquaintances. Rayleigh pleads for the Straw Hat Pirates. Kizaru frowned and said that if he doesn't catch them, Marine will not be able to hold his head up in front of the celestial dragons. The battle between Rayleigh and Kizaru was far less intense than sword killing. The two of them fought very conservatively, just hoping to stop Kizaru. Both of them are good at fishing. Rayleigh and Kizaru, one uses health swordsmanship, and the other fishes. While fighting, Momomaru and the pacifists were watching as they besieged the Straw Hat Pirates, probably still thinking about how today's events would end. The bear finally appeared suddenly and sent away all the Straw Hat Pirates. The battle between Rayleigh and Kizaru is over. Don't look at what Kizaru said at the time. Pirates like members of the Roger Pirates can never erase their crimes. But Kizaru actually empathizes with Rayleigh's desire to live in seclusion. Kizaru later captured 500 pirates and did not proceed with the task of dealing with Rayleigh. Hiss. Why do I feel something is wrong? Health-preserving swordsmanship. This is the general. Why do you feel so fishy? 3. Beat up the Poseidon class. After the war, the Heart Pirates temporarily docked on the coast of Daughter Island to treat Luffy. One day, Shachi and Pei Jin were excitedly watching the nearby Poseidons fighting in a group, but they saw Pluton Rayleigh climbing up from the sea. According to Rayleigh, his ship was sunk by a storm and he had to swim across the calm zone to get here. But as we all know, there are no storms in the windless zone. This shows how far Rayleigh has swam. Everyone in the entire pirate world couldn't help but be shocked. Swimming through the windless zone. And there are so many Poseidon types in the windless zone. Is this something ordinary people can do? Everyone was shocked when they heard this, not to mention that Rayleigh must have encountered more than one Poseidon species along the way. The windless belt is the Poseidon nest. It's really tough to fight all the way there. Pluton can actually find the direction of Daughter's Island without even having a boat. Hey, it seems that I came here a lot when I was young. This is probably related to the last empress playing chess. Who is young and not romantic? Outside the tavern, Shachi glanced at Rayleigh without hesitation. Presumably, I can't go to bed today. 4. Attack the marine base. There is a high probability that it was Shang who originally suggested that the Straw Hat Pirates train for 2 years and suggested that Rayleigh go to Daughter Island. After reaching a consensus with Luffy, Pluton and Jinbei returned to Marinefando with the Straw Hat Kid to take over the throne to mourn the passing of Whitebeard and Ace. What? The shocking news was revealed inadvertently. The passing of Ace and Whitebeard. Gone. Dead. Ace and Whitebeard. Shock. The whole pirate world was shocked. New world. Whitebeard stands proudly on the Moby, holding a cloud cutter. There are countless nutrient solutions hanging on the body. This broken body has been through too many battles and is about to fall. Whitebeard has always relied on his strong will to get where he is today. Dad. This news was an earthquake to the Whitebeard pirates. Dad, he is dead. How is that possible? Even Whitebeard himself was completely shocked, looking at himself falling down in the video. No one can accept his own death. No matter how powerful the existence is, it is the same. Just when Marco and others were about to speak, Whitebeard laughed loudly and said, "Gu la 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 la, sons, have you seen this title? The remnants of the old era. There are no ships in New World that can carry me." Marco and others stared at Whitebeard's back. I can only stare at Whitebeard's back. Marine headquarters, there are many Marines. Sengoku, Akainu and others looked up and stared at the video on the giant screen. Whitebeard. Dead. A war. Sengoku murmured softly. Can Marine really win this time? The whole world was in an uproar. The fall of the Whitebeard pirates will change the pattern of the entire world. On this trip, Luffy conveyed a new promise to the Straw Hat members scattered around the world to meet again in 2 years. In terms of reputation, before this invasion, there was a lot of noise in the Marine headquarters, attracting worldwide attention. But in terms of difficulty, it's really not difficult. After the war, the main force of Marine has been withdrawn, and Marine has been used as a new branch repair site. It didn't stop Rayleigh and Jinbei from joining forces with the enemy. They hijacked the warship and circled the island, and successfully escorted Luffy to the square to complete the task. Ceremony, and then retreat. Invade Marine headquarters. Ma Lin Fan. New branch repair. As the battle in Ma Lin Fan. Sengoku looked up at the explanation on the giant screen and murmured in a low voice, invade the headquarters, Ace. There is only one possibility for Whitebeard to invade Marine headquarters. It's Ace. Blackbeard takes credit for Ace from Marine headquarters. While everyone was thinking, the video continued to play on the giant screen. 5. Demonstrate domineering power and become an elephant in seconds. Following Marin's trip, Rayleigh began teaching Luffy how to practice hockey on Ruscana Island. The reason why he chose this place is because there are so many ferocious beasts here. Rayleigh first locked the position of a giant elephant with the hockey of the seeing color, then used the hockey of the seeing color to dodge its attack, and then neatly knocked down the giant elephant with one punch of the hockey of the armed color. Finally, conquerors demonstrated the pressure from Pluton, which can easily knock the giant elephant out. This time it's all a tutorial level, there's nothing much to say. Is this the origin of Mr. Rayleigh's mediocrity? Hiss. Soon someone began to complain. I have to say, looking at it this way, you are indeed a mediocre person. Instructor Kaido uses his potential stimulating stick to teach in person. Look at teacher Rayleigh, she can only demonstrate, what can she learn? Agree. The reputation of a mediocre teacher is well deserved. Thanks for watching.